Our church was built in 1835, and it was built by plantation owners from South Carolina. They moved, migrated south, and the church went along and went along and went along for years like that. The Civil War, turn of the century, civil rights, women's rights, loss of population, nothing really happened. The church basically stayed very much the same. And about 10 years ago, we had a new minister whose name was Roger Short. And I say he's a visionary, and he said, well, his vision was from God, of course. And he challenged our boundaries and said, pointed out some things to us that we were not open to other people's. And I took offense to it a little bit. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean? Are you saying that? And he explained it, and which was that we weren't open to other cultures, and we were afraid of other cultures. And that challenge kind of moved us into thinking about things differently, which led to several things, including one thing, an invitation to the University of West Alabama choir. Well, they come now to our church homecoming every year, and they perform. So you've got this heavily black choir singing in our tiny, tiny little church to all these people, and the congregation is very white, but now we're having that kind of interaction, and we are so blessed by that and so inspired.
Joining the church was laying the first seed. We were actually the first blacks to ever join this church. So we visited 17 churches, white and black churches, in a 15-mile radius of where we live. So we went to this church one Sunday, and there was a lady, her name was Miss Juanita Lee. She prayed, and listening to this lady pray convinced us that was the church we needed to join. I've never heard a woman pray where she encompassed the whole world and narrowed the universe down to our community. I never heard a prayer structured like that. I never heard anyone be so thankful and so grateful for what God has done for the world. And I said, that's where I need to be.
I heard somebody say recently that their growth, their personal growth, spiritual growth, was more like a dimmer switch coming on, not a flash bulb going off. And I thought, well, that's kind of what's going on with our church. I had an idea that I wanted to do a Bible study. I'd never really studied the Bible. So now we're moving into a Bible study, and we'd use the same literature for, my entire life. And we're going to change and do a Bible study now instead of another kind of study that we've been doing all these many, many years. That's just a tiny example of things that we've done differently. For me, that dimmer switch has been turned on since then. And so I may be looking at the church in a different light than I had before. Obviously I am. So is its dimmer switch coming up lighter and lighter? It seems to me that it is. We have more interaction with other people and more interaction with outside of our tiny little church. We do some mission work within our community now. We have a real close relationship with the Hebron Methodist Church and also with Aliceville Methodist Church, and that has been more a tighter bond now than we've had in the past with those sister churches. Former pastor Roger Short, one thing that he introduced us to was a prayer pilgrimage that we have at our tiny little church. We've been doing it about 4 or 5 years now. Roger started it, and we're like, what is he talking about? And so it would be during the spring, and we'd have a week long of prayer pilgrimage where people could come to the church 3 times a day and have a small service and prayer, and which was totally different than we'd ever done before.
The tornadoes of 2011 hit, and it hit hard in some local black communities. And I knew these people. These were people I grew up with. So I talked to my church about helping and clean up in this little town called Geiger. We rallied 69 volunteers, including the U.S. Marines, to come and clean this town. And we cleaned, in that one day, we cleaned and regraded the lots of 3 churches that had been destroyed and 46 homes. We had heavy-duty equipment that God brought, their own business equipment, and we redid the whole community for free, grading the homes to rebuild the lots. That's when I realized the power of a small church. Now, that was the first phase of changing, because this community was an all-black community that we were doing this work in. And I think everybody grew. We started to realize, we're not that different. We're not that far apart. My wife is very passionate about health care. There are a lot of old people in our community. She said we should do something to help the elderly get out of the house and get some exercise. In 1 year, we had a building. We had all the equipment we needed. As a volunteer, you pay, we contribute for the electricity to keep the lights and the air conditioning running. We now have a Zumba instructor. They have classes 3 days a week. The gym is open 5 days a week. And it's amazing how just a little idea. So everybody in the church brought all their exercise equipment from their home and put it in this gym. And now we have a full gym centrally located in the community. The same year, we took on tutoring kids at the fire station. We took on cleaning up. We adopted 13 miles of roads. The idea is, when you have a clean community, people feel better about it. When they feel better about it, it's easy to talk about God. It's easy to talk about His blessing, because they see His blessing in the community.
It just opened some ideas up to me that perhaps I need to get into the Scripture more. Perhaps I need to understand that more. Perhaps I need to be with people who have those same kind of values.
I understood that God loved all people, and He didn't love you by race. What bothered me as a kid was, if we all go to heaven, how do you function in heaven? If you can't function on earth, and you can't coexist on earth, how do you function in heaven? Actually, that kind of turned me away from the church for a long time, because I saw the churches gathering around in these racial divides. And I said, if the ministers don't know any better than that, what is heaven like? And I decided early on that I didn't want to go to the heaven that these people went to. I wanted to go to heaven where the Pharisees and the Sadducees worked together. So I hope that I can make a difference. If not, I know what my purpose in life is, and my purpose in the church is, and that is to try to mobilize the church to be more inclusive, and recognize that what we do that is not consistent with the Bible, we need to rethink it. I'm trying to change people's lives. I'm trying to change their belief system. I'm trying to get them to love without restriction to color. That's all if we could learn how to love without restrictions to color, the world would be totally different. Just care.
In our particular situation, we had to have an outsider tell us, y'all need to bump it around a little bit. People in the church would not have made any changes. I wouldn't have made any changes if I hadn't have somebody challenge me to make a change and to look at things differently. So I would say prayer would be the first thing, and then open eyes and see what the possibilities might be.
Read the Bible and look in the mirror. Read the Bible and look at yourself in the mirror and say, what can I do? What is it that I can, not how difficult it is. What can I do? Because every little step in the right direction is a building block. When you prep your soil and plant a seed, we never know if that seed is going to come up. But if you follow all the right rules, that seed will come up.
I'm Kathy Marine. I'm from Panola United Methodist Church.
My name is Edgar Pruitt, and I'm a member of Hebron United Methodist Church in Ellisville, Alabama.